Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening's webinar on Living Wisely, Living Well. My name is Amit. I am talking to you from our center in Delhi. And we will start this evening with the reading from Living Wisely, Living Well for September 5th. It's a long reading, and then we will see what all we can draw the inspiration from this reading. Swami says, devote less time than heretofore to being entertained by watching television, for instance, or by listening to recorded music. Commit yourself to doing things yourself. Don't work from ego, but offer yourself as a clear channel for the divine creator. Passivity is to creativity what floating on water aimlessly is to swimming. And channeling God's grace is to egoic creativity what swimming with the current is to struggling against it. It's a long reading. There are many aspects that I wish to cover here today. So even if you don't remember everything which the reading says, it's fine, because we'll refer to that again and again. And I'll start with the first part where he says, devote less time to the entertainment. It is very interesting that recently we were trying to start or at least there were conversation of a TV channel, and then we were contemplating on what's a TV channel, especially in the age today we live in. There's all these streaming services. No, we don't need to wait for a TV program to come up. We can just stream it on Netflix, and then there's some other streaming channels, and then there's YouTube and whatnot. So given all these things, what is the significance of television? And one thing, like, I'm sure that some of you also watch television also at some point, not necessarily all the time, and I think I do too at times. And what is it that the television provides that these other things don't? And then if you consider one of the parts of it is like when we come home after a long days of work, we don't want to think about it, isn't it? We just want to sit and then we press a button and then it's like, entertain me. I'm just too stressed for the day and just entertain me. And that's what exactly television does. We probably have to give him a little more input, like, okay, particular channel that we select based on our personal likes and dislikes, or probably personal likes. And then the rest, the television takes care of it. And in many ways, it is good, because it gives us an instant relaxation, or at least temporary relief from whatever things that we have been occupied with. But what Swami is saying here is not that it's taboo or then like henceforth never ever watch television or listen, but he's saying less, do it less. And why? Because there is something different in watching television as opposed to, even for that matter, watching something, searching for something on YouTube or on internet, is that it is very, very, very passive. The contribution that we have in that is basically just sit on our couch and then press that button and then hope that whatever is coming on that is going to inspire us or entertain us or just bring us what we want to achieve, which could be a temporary satisfaction that time. So the only concern there, one of the primary only concern, is that it is very passive. And that is what he is requesting us against. And in the second line, he again goes on to compare passivity to the creativity, and we'll again refer to that at some point. He says passivity is like floating on water aimlessly as opposed to swimming itself. When we tell to the children that don't watch television too much, we prefer that they go outside and play, isn't it? Like, there's nothing harm. Like, there are many nice programs on television, but there's something inherently missing in that part. Is like it doesn't allow anything else of our being to be exerted in that exercise of just watching, very passive. When I was a child, I grew up in a small place, and of course it's number of decades ago, so the entertainment industry wasn't as mature as it is today. So even if there was a television, even if it is not my choice, we had to wait till evening because there was nothing to watch on the television. And as a result, actually, it just forced, I think many of us would resonate with that. It was forced us out into do something, and then you have to find your own entertainment. You have to create your own entertainment, something which sort of just brings the energy back up. And as a child, I think you don't need to be too concerned about that. Even like as the moment the child is able to move a little bit, you just dump her in any room, she will find her own entertainment. She doesn't need to be any, she doesn't complain, oh, there's no network here, there's no Netflix and whatnot. And then the same thing, if I resonate in my own life and you try and reflect on your own life, it wasn't as difficult. And more importantly, it was so fulfilling, something about that. I grew up in a child where nature was my best friend. There was not many people around. Even my parents had their own life. I had my own life. Something inherently in that helped me fulfilled, which probably I don't find even these days when watch a most entertaining drama or television. Do things yourself, Swami says in that readings. Meaning what? Not only just engaging your mind, which certainly gets engaged even when you play your computer game or something like that, but use everything which is given to you by God. And of course, one of the basic things which is given to us by God is our body. So he says, do things yourself. There's nothing that we can learn which is actually outside ourselves. Another thing I would invite all of us to reflect. If we reflect back into our childhood or so far, whatever we have learned in our life, where did we actually learn it from? Of course, we all probably went to some schools, we had teachers, our parents tried to teach us many things. And then we did participate, at least to a certain extent. I was not necessarily backbenchers, but I was very good at sleeping while the teacher was teaching with my eyes wide open. But not out of any disrespect, but I just knew what they wanted to tell, and then I can also read the book and understand what it is. So what did the books tell us? They gave us some information. They gave us also some basic do's and don'ts of the life, and then gave us a history and all those kind of things. Enablers, all of those were enablers. But if you reflect, like what is it that when we talk about this is where I actually learn something. This is where something transformed my life to small to larger degrees, doesn't matter. But those are experiences that we have in our lives. And I'm not saying some very esoteric experiences. It could be just like falling in love for the first time, or for that matter, breaking up for the first time, having a child, like getting married, having a degree, your first job, a boss getting scolding or praising you. All these are experiences, and then everything that we learn so far gets an sort of expression. And then we say, oh, okay, I see what it means. What is the importance of these experiences? We all sort of understand, isn't it? Like in our jobs, I used to not understand in my first job when I went, I saw all of us, we were doing all the work, and all our managers, they would just call us and then give us work. I never saw them working. I said, like, why are these guys getting paid? Well, I'm doing all the work. And then eventually when I went to a bigger company and I had a more personal and one-on-one connection with my so-called manager, and then I realized they had taken such a large responsibility. And that capacity to take that larger responsibility for all of us who were sort of working under him. So yes, he was still not doing the work that we were doing, but he was the one who was making sure we do our job. And why was he in that position and not me? When we start any company or anything for that matter, we get people who sort of have done that before, because that doing has given them some sort of experience. Even when we have a child, my sister recently had a child, and then they were looking for the daycare for her, then you make sure that the daycare people have understanding of how to deal with children. And then that's how they get their reputation from that, okay, we have done this. Experiences is not something we can replace by watching television or by reading books. It has to be our active participation in life. And there is no replacement to that. There could be good teachers even when it comes to spirituality. Master Paramahansa Yogananda, as we said, has written many, many, many things. But he has also asked people to do not take anything, as I say, granted. Just because even if you have accepted me as your guru, that is not the point that you have any blind faith on me. He said, make sure that that becomes your experience. Practice it, as he says, in your own laboratory of your life, paraphrasing him a little. And because when you understand by experience what is he trying to say, it gives you much more, a power to that whole thing. I will go to the last para where Master is saying something, and we'll see what we can draw from that. The last line he says, and channeling God's grace is to egoic creativity what swimming with the current is to struggling against it. When we talk about God's grace and then or God's creativity, in general, when we use this word creativity, at least for me, it used to come like, okay, I can think of painters or singers, and that's what the creativity. Or if you do something else, then no, you need to really produce something which is very esoteric, you cannot do easily. But is that really the end of creativity? In this topic, as we try to say, how do you attune to the divine creator? We're talking about creativity in much more larger sense. Who is the divine creator? We call him God, or the omnipresent intelligence, or Father, I don't know. Whatever word that we use to define that infinite intelligence, what is it that he or she has created? Isn't everything that we see around us is part of that creation? Isn't that you and me is part of his creation as well? So in that context, if I look, then that definition of creation becomes much larger. And I think today I want to use that as a definition of creativity. I want to make that you and me as a part of that creativity, rather than making a particular object. And we will talk about why. When we talk about divine grace, another thing, one time, one of Master's disciple, Yoganandaji's disciple, he would crib in terms of, I can do anything, Master, but I need your blessings to achieve that. And Master listened to that for quite some time, and then realized he was just making it an excuse, like to avoid the work, because I need your blessing, and somehow by your blessing, all of a sudden it will happen. Now, we normally tell this story in a different context. So one day, Master actually just scolded him, like my blessings are already there. God's blessings are already there. What is missing is your blessing, meaning your participation. And he wasn't just telling probably to scold him and then moving out of his comfort zone and whatnot. He actually meant it. He was not conditioning. Very recent, and there is a movie running at the moment, The Answer, which is on the life of Swami Kriyananda. And then the first thing, that's one of the touching moments for me in that movie, is when Master and Swami meets each other. And we all probably have read about that in Swami's book and then heard him talk about that 100 times. But still something like that movie gives a visual expression, and I really loved it. And then again, there he says, I give you my unconditional love. It's a promise. Even in that movie, that entire dialogue just gets maybe 5 to 7 seconds. They try to dramatize it, but it's still 7 seconds. And there is a very profound promise in that, and a great truth as well, for us to realize that his blessings are always there. When we talk about divine grace, we, the children of that omnipresent Spirit, children of God, are not separate from that. So that means that God's grace is already present, equally accessible to each and every one of us. Guru's grace, God's grace, they're already here and equally accessible. What at time misses then is only our part. And in fact, the rest is all we can lay it aside and just work on that part. When we try to become like a divine channel or divine creator, we just have to have that kind of fire to invite it. We just open ourselves. One story that Sri Yukteswarji's from Sri Yukteswarji's life that is written in autobiography of Yogi. When he was a young child, his mother stopped saying that, well, to scare him off, don't go into that cupboard, there is ghost. And what did Sri Yukteswarji's girl? The first thing he did is just went there straight inside and opened the door. And it was disappointed probably to find nothing inside. Now, was it because he was not afraid? Was it the courageous story? No. The courage, it is not just probably courageous. When we call all these masters as avatars, and certainly they have achieved that stature by something, but when they came back to the planet, they also assume a human body. They are affected by normal human conditions also. They do have a body, they do have emotions, they do have feelings. So it won't be too far-fetched. Like as a young child, Sri Yukteswarji might be a little bit afraid of going there, but he didn't care about that fear or that emotion. What he was more interested is, if the life is giving me an opportunity. Now, how many of us have seen ghosts in life? Other than again watching on the television, which Swami has warned us to stay away from, is we have not. Now, if as a child who are very innocent, they are by default curious, he got an opportunity. His mother was of course trying to scare him off, but he, instead of feeding that scare, he fed the creativity and went there and said, "Why? This is the greatest opportunity." And then maybe you will see the ghost, and then we shall see what happens if really there is something like that exists in that cupboard. But he wasn't just feeding that fear. What he was showing instead is that even if that there is a great resistance inside him, there is something which is basically asking him to stop from doing that. No, I'm going to embrace life for what it is, and then see where it leads. When we talk about being a channel to divine creator, being part of that grace which already is there, if it is already there, there's not much that we have to do, but at the same time there's a lot more we have to do. One simple way, Swami Kriyanandaji says that you just need to get out of the way. Now, when I used to listen to Swami Kriyananda, I used to say, yeah, that's just perfect. And whenever he will say such a sentence, they will just hit the heart, and they say this seems so simple. And it is in some way simple, but at the same time it is a practice. He sounds like it is just one sentence, but in that effort, the life of a devotee can be summarized. It's just that getting out of our way. Where is God? When we sit in meditation, what are we looking for? We are looking for that presence. And where are we looking for that presence? Not in the murti that we probably have on the altar, not in some other chant that we are singing. We are trying to invoke, and then so that our own mind can go interior and then find that presence which is already there. The moment we go outside, we said, oh, I need to go back into my meditation, meaning something has come in between now that I can't feel that presence anymore. Who else can that be? Us. Of course, we say that there are situations, there are circumstances outside, but that's where Sri Yukteswarji comes to our rescue. There will be a lot of outside situations. People will come, and then circumstances will be created just with that intention, so that our awareness, our attention will be moved out from that presence which we at times feel in our meditation. The only job then for us is to accept for what it is, and then still try to have that courage to open the door. Because the moment we open the door, it's all hoax. and then that situation loses the control over us. When we talk about being a divine creator, Swami says ki avoid egoic. There is a difference between egoic creativity and channeling God's grace. Now, ego is a very much used subject, but we normally use it from like for others, and not only because we feel other people are egoic. It is not easy thing to find within ourselves. Now, at times, if I ask you to define ego or see how egoic people will behave, we talk about those bosses who just put other people down, and then they just want to have some selfish motives. That is an understanding of ego we have, true. But maybe most of us, including, we have understood that it doesn't work, and we are not those. So are we free from ego then? No, we're not. But then, to make this statement reality, we need to have a understanding of like, who is that ego, which is still, Swami saying, can create problems. Who can stop us from being a channel to the divine grace, which, as we are understanding, is already there. And then that is for us to find. I can't point a finger that this is generally the characteristics, but it's our own perception. Even when I started on the spiritual path, I got so excited because this was the first time many new concepts opened to me, and I was like, I had a big brain, so I just read things and I easily could remember things, and then one theory after other, and I was just overwhelmed, and I could point finger at people and say, oh, this is truth and this is untrue, and all those kind of things. Almost everything was carrying. And then the first time when I was outside I say Ananda or the protected environment, the first thing I noticed is some of the people didn't resonate with that idea. And I was aghast. I said, no, because this is the model given by Patanjali. How can you say no to it? And then I was so disappointed. I said, okay, they are two bad people, and all of a sudden I fall into that trap of judgment and all those things. Came back, took me a number of months to actually let it go, and then realized that it is not the point of get all these templates that even Patanjali or our teachings are given and impose on people, but it is if you find resonance and use that template to touch that presence inside, to touch that truth the way you understand. People will be outside. People will choose their own template. The important point is to find that template which works for you, and not being carried away by the thought that, this is the boxes. Sometimes we create that boxes. Outside these boxes, there's no reality. The reality is already everywhere. If a box works for us for some time, we will use it. But with that awareness that this is still a box, it is still a template. One of the things that Buddha said, that when he points a finger and says that it's the moon, he says that we are looking at the moon. We're not looking at the finger itself. It's a path which has been shown. As the master says, techniques is the way to reach the truth. The techniques themselves are not truths alone in themselves. The last things I want to say about this is, when master says, become a channel to the divine creator, he invites us to make that own individual connection to the presence inside. And that's why he has given many techniques, he has given many ways, and he has given so many sermons. Now, if you see, some things that resonate to me may or may not resonate with you. But one important point is when we find the resonance inside, we are already have found something to walk on. There's a great saint in Maharashtra, Tukaram was his name, and then one of his great followers came to him once and said, Maharaj, I want to become your disciple. To which he said, you see, I can become your guru or whatever, but you see, if the God wanted everyone to follow what I am following, then why would have he given a separate spark in each heart? And she was wise, so she understood Meaning what he was saying is not that I want to be your guru, but more in terms of you have to find and be honest to the spark inside ourselves. My truth is my own. Your truth is your own. Master truth was his own. And we have to find that truth inside and just be true to that self. There's nothing more outside that we want to do in there. No? Master, another way to look at it is like the Master says is, though his guru, Sri Yukteswar, was a very, his path was of Jnana Yoga. At times he would say he was like a cold shower. He would just chop them in his understanding and critical discrimination. But that wasn't Master's way. He was a very bhakti yogi. And then he said, but by following the teachings that is given by Sri Yukteswarji, Master didn't become a Jnana yogi, but he just became much more deeper into his own connection, in his own path, in his own bhakti, through which he was able to reach the divine. When we continue walking this path together, and that is what I think we want to do. If I want to say a takeaway from this reading for myself, and I would like to share with you, is asking our hearts, whenever we go into that presence, whenever we go into our meditations, at any point, whenever there is inspiration, finding Master's word and finding their resonance within our hearts, because that is our truth, and it doesn't have to be very absolute at this very moment. But you see, that understanding is the only reality that we possess today. And then from that understanding, we can act that truth out. That may be something refined over the period of time, but we cannot wait till the time we are realized or Jivan Mukta, because we don't necessarily know. This could be the moments. Moments of inspiration is the time when we feel something, and then we have to be the divine channel now. And whatever capacity, as Master has said, like their blessings are there, their grace is there. Only thing is that we make our connection. We feel this is what my current understanding is. This is what I feel is the right thing to do. And then just jump. Open the door. Maybe at times we'll find ghosts and says we'll get scared. Maybe at times we'll hear like this was a miserable mistake. It is not the point. The only thing which is going to make us more stronger in ourselves, in our understanding of teaching, in our relations with the Masters, is only when we make that connection intimate. And then intimate connections requires our complete embrace. Right now, right here. That's all I would like to share with you today. Have a very good evening. Thank you. Enjoyed.